suburban trains coming. Two suburban trains have passed whilst the freight train has been on this level crossing. And another suburban train is coming. It's pretty hard to know how many people use our public transport in Adelaide with Adelaide Metro, and this is the only information which is on the internet published by the Department of Transport and Infrastructure for the years up to 2015. We can see that it's telling us there's been a significant increase in the patronage and an increase in the number of people using the CPED line when it's electrified, an increase of 78%, and an increase on the Blair line of 26%, and an increase on the Outer Harbour line of 8%. If we look at Adelaide's transport on the northern section of Greater Adelaide, we can see these red lines are the steel railways, and the yellow is the concrete barn or O-barn. So if we look at the steel barn system, the railway system, there is street trams, street trains, street cars, which the old railway line from Glenelg to the city. But we're looking here at the Gawler line. So the Gawler line goes from Adelaide Terminal Station through North Adelaide, around North Adelaide actually, then parallel to Churchill Road to Parafield, and then through Dry Creek, and then Salisbury, Elizabeth, out Blakeview to Gawler. And at Gawler you can see there's actually two branches, a branch which goes through to the Barossa Valley, and this might actually be part of the rail bypass at some future time, and the other line going out here which used to go up to Peterborough and beyond. This portion of the rail system is all broad gauge except for a short section here which was narrow gauge, which is a private railway built from Woodville Station to Grange before it was nationalised by the South Australian government, the colonial government at that stage, not the states didn't exist at that time. So the colonial government of South Australia built a railway system of broad gauge or Irish gauge, and where there was less traffic it had narrow gauge trains. The expansion of Adelaide has caused these rail systems to become much more important in terms of use for passengers. These railway lines, which were built in the 1857s, were built for freight and long distance passenger travel, and all this area through here was farmland. Airports didn't exist because aeroplanes hadn't been invented yet. So we go down to Adelaide to Smithfield. We'll see that here the Salisbury line has a feature where there's a line. This is the Weapons Research Establishment, and so on this eastern side there are suburbs and people living, and on the western side is Commonwealth land with Weapons Research Establishment and other defence facilities. So passengers cannot catch trains from the western side because that is a military base from the rail line through to the airport there. The line to Port Pirie in the National Standardisation of Rail Lines was turned into a standard gauge. So from this point, Salisbury, through to Adelaide Parkland Station and Keswick is now standard gauge, and the Adelaide Metro trains continue in this section of the rail system to be broad gauge. At the time of making this video, the Gawler line is being electrified, which involves a whole amount of disruption to passengers, but a great improvement is going to be achieved, similar to what was achieved when they electrified the Seaford line. So here is Greater Adelaide and the railway. This is the streetcar tram line still, but the actual railway line goes west of the city to Keswick showgrounds, and then here Oaklands along the coast, and at Lonsdale the railway line used to go around this way before that line was closed and was replaced by a new line, or an existing line went to the oil refinery, which is no longer there, and then on to Noarlunga and to Seaford. And this line used to go around here to McLaren Vale, and the rail corridor still exists for when they extend the rail line to Aldinga Beach. The point of this video is to look at what's been done at Goodwood Station back in the 1910s, when this rail overpass was built, when the railway line to Glenelg, which had been nationalised by the South Australian colonial government, crossed over the South Line at this point, and so they realised they needed to build an overpass back in the 1910s. And at Goodwood Station there actually is pedestrian underpass which goes from the eastern side to the western side, partly because there's a public swimming pool here. And in recent times in the video we've seen that a pedestrian overpass was built when they built a brand new railway station, when the railway station, the Keswick railway station, which used to be on this side of Greenhill Road, was moved to the southern side of Greenhill Road. And the point is that if passengers want to be able to get from one side of a rail line to the other, they shouldn't have to wait around for a freight train to go through and 4 or 5 passenger trains to go through before they can get to the platform, particularly when the platform is an island platform. Now a bit further along the line, on the Seaford line, there's a Marion station. Now the Marion station is in the suburb of Marion, whereas the Marion shopping centre is not in Marion at all, it's in another suburb. So this is the Marion station, And we can see that the Marion suburb, this distance of radius of 800 metres, has got a large private school here and a relatively small number of people. But when the electrification was being done, they saw it was an opportunity to build a pedestrian underpass at Marion Station. So this is the DPTI's website talking about the Marion Station upgrade. As you can see, this Marion railway station has a combination of a school, an older demographic, people living with disabilities, and a new electric train service now travelling through. Built about 47 years ago, the former pedestrian overpass, so there was one here at one point, has been installed to provide the safest option for pedestrians crossing the railway line. This doesn't have freight trains going through anymore, and it's only got passenger trains, and the number of trains going to the oil refinery was very low. And the railway line was separating people entirely from their trains. It was not, however, compliant with the Federal Disability Discrimination Act and was not high enough to facilitate infrastructure required for electrification. And so the DPTI and the government of the day took the opportunity to provide the electrification project to upgrade this facility into a new, modern, entirely open pedestrian underpass, maintaining the highest safety achievable by grade separation and by featuring the principles CPT-DED. And CPT-DED is crime prevention through environmental design. So places like Salisbury railway station, with large numbers of people with disability at the moment, are forced to cross over railway lines and wait for freight trains, and in many cases were killed when the terrible rail accident occurred at Salisbury. And people at Ovingham are going to have to wait around for freight trains to go through. But here at Marion, crime prevention has been built into this particular structure. If we go to the video that the DPTI created of the time, we can see that this is where a freight train line would exist if it was at Salisbury or at Ovingham or North Adelaide. And what they've got is a pedestrian underpass going underneath the railway line with a staircase for those who have got no problems with wheelchairs or walking frames, and they come up into the centre. So it can be done, particularly when there's disruption to the whole system due to electrification occurring. So let's look at the time lapse when they built this underpass. It involved rebuilding the whole station. This was done in 2013. At the moment, the electrification of the Gawler line involves on the western side, a existing freight train line which you can't disrupt. So it'll be a bit more complicated, but it can be done, as we see here at Marion. Now let's leave the electrification of the Seaford line at Marion Station and look at North Adelaide railway station on the Gawler line. this is the North Adelaide railway station on the Gawler line, and we can see here the two lines of broad gauge, which are the Adelaide Metro passenger trains going to Mawson Lakes, Elizabeth and Gawler, and this single line is the freight train line, where freight trains, because it's very close to North Adelaide, go through quietly and go slowly. And over here is the suburb of Bowden. There's a major road and there's no convenient pedestrian overpass or underpass over this major road, which is actually the inner ring route featured so frequently in other of my videos. And people wanting to catch a train from here have a situation where there's no underpass underneath the freight line. So if we go down to street level at Bowden, the state government, through its particular wing of government which does land development, is making a Manhattan type environment where it's basically impossible for people to safely get from their multi-storey building over this very busy road a short distance to the railway station, and then be confronted by the fact that there's no pedestrian underpass to get to the other side of the freight line, and people wanting to walk to the golf links can't safely get across the railway lines. So people might want to go to other features besides a railway station. So in conclusion then, it suggested that there are a number of stations and opportunities to improve pedestrian access to the trains on the Gawler line by use of either pedestrian overpasses or underpasses, particularly at Ovingham, where they are building a major road overpass at the moment, and it was suggested that the North Adelaide near Bowden should be considered, as well as the Salisbury station, which has a major requirement given that it has also got Salisbury High School on the wrong side of the tracks, amongst other reasons why the Salisbury station should have a suitable pedestrian underpass. I understand there actually is one at Salisbury which was closed off because it didn't meet the modern safety requirements. Perhaps it could be resurrected and improved, particularly as they've gone and put a car park on the western side of the freight line for passengers using the Adelaide Metro system. Pedestrian underpasses are a major need or pedestrian underpasses and overpasses are a major need on the Gawler railway line.